everyone. So thank you for that kind introduction. My name is Sonya Barlow. My day job, I work as a fintech manager. I am the stat, so one of 3% of females in tech. My side hustle, so actually a great stat is 47% of millennials now have a side hustle, which they work on for a minimum of 15 hours a week alongside their day jobs. So that's a great stat just to recognize. I am the founder of Like-Minded Females. So Like-Minded Females is a diversity initiative and female empowerment community. What we do is we teach life skills and provide accessible and affordable initiatives to everyone across all industry so that we can be best suited for progression and our futures. I'm also a TEDx speaker, and as of the end of this month, I will be an incoming PhD student. And my research is on the barriers for females entering and progressing in technology with a focus on ethnic minorities. And so this panel is not only relevant, but it's very close to home. What I'll be doing is I'll let the panelists introduce themselves because I wouldn't be doing them any justice if I did, and then we'll start the questions. I've got a set of questions already created which I can take them through, and then more importantly, I'm going to open up to the floor because you all have the entrepreneurial mindset, you want the questions to be answered, and I want to give you the room. So if I let Liam start, and then we'll take it from there.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. A quick bit about me. I currently have a robotics startup and we are building wall painting technology. But I also am a director at SBTV and I was managing director there from 2010 to 2013 and oversaw kind of a large scale from kind of community growth and diversification of like the content that the channel created and kind of the business functions and business outputs that we did and delivered. That kind of led on to me being very interested in how people could have very kind of fulfilling and impactful early careers, which was very kind of against the grain to what I saw as the mainstream. And so I wanted to create a program that would allow for me to take a number of 18 to 24-year-olds at scale through kind of applied learning where they would get kind of big interactions with people in industry. It was called Super Academy. I did it with a young entrepreneur called BJ Malenga, and it was kind of won a number of awards with kind of in government. And those kind of experiences led me to meet other young entrepreneurs, kind of range of different profiles, range of different sectors, and kind of I've recently how I'm here and how I know Kike, she actually won a competition program that I helped kind of facilitate and deliver over the last couple of years. And so that's a little bit about me. So I look forward to kind of speaking a little bit later on.
Hi all, my name's Heather Alleyne. Obviously I'm not a millennial, so I won't go there and I don't have an outside role. I'm an associate partner at EY. I've been there for nearly 10 years. I've probably been in consulting about 50% of my career. The other half has been spent in a large global bank. What do I do? I suppose what do I don't do is probably the answer. I work with big firms, helping them maneuver regulatory challenge. We do huge transformation programs. My day job takes up most of my time. And hence why I don't have a side job, but that's probably another reason that I'm not good at taking risk. Although risk is part of what I do and help firms make sure that they're managing and mitigating risks as they go through. It's a pleasure to be here and to be on this panel. I look forward to the questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Suki Fuller. I am the founder of Miribure, stands for Mitigating Risk, Rebuilding Resilience. By background, I am a chemical engineer, and then I moved into intelligence, so I have a degree in intelligence studies. Basically, I used to work for an organization with 3 letters in the US. I have worked for government agencies, also in national security, law enforcement, and work in corporate intelligence, and I help companies build their strategic competitive advantages with competitive intelligence. I've done a lot. I do a lot. I continue to do a lot. I will do a lot. Side hustle, not really a fan of that term, because anything you do is not really a hustle and it's not really a side hustle. It's what you're doing, regardless of what you do during the day. But we'll get into that later. I do a lot of stuff, basically. I guess, you know, Suki Fuller at me on Twitter. That way you can just hear the bio yourself.
Cool. Hey everyone, thanks for your time. I'm Jazz. I'm currently on a sabbatical from PwC, so I did 2 things at PwC. I helped kickstart the firm's artificial intelligence practice, and I co-founded a innovation practice in which we basically help CEOs to figure out what would disrupt their businesses and then come up with new business models. I'm now trying to solve the following problem, is that it's very hard for young people to make informed education and career choices, given how fast the world's changing. So Udacity and Coursera online, they offer bachelor's degrees now for significantly lower costs. Automation's kicking off, which means that some of the jobs we got told would pay us a lot of money no longer pay us a lot of money, and people kind of struggle to make informed decisions. So we're trying to build some clever software that will help younger people actually get prepared and manage the future of work.
Awesome. So thank you so much for all the introductions. That leads me on nicely. And Jazz, we can start with yourself. You are on a sabbatical from PwC, and you've gone out and created your own venture. And most importantly, you're trying, so you've taken that leap of faith. But in a short sentence and a couple of words, can you define the entrepreneurial mindset?
Yeah, I think so. Entrepreneurial mindset for me is when it's about problem solving, and there's some problems that you come across that you're so passionate about solving, you can't stop yourself from solving it. And whether it means leaving your job or solving it within your company, there's some deep down desire within you that you have to solve it. And then I think there's some factors that contribute to your ability to solve that problem. Stuff as growth mindset, you're kind of continuously learning. There's a new kind of something called AQ, adaptability quotient or something along the lines, but it basically means your ability to adapt through change. And lastly, I'll throw out your ability to unlearn. So when you leave consulting, the first thing I learned was I don't need to create any more PowerPoint slides or any Excel models, and it's just about getting shit done. And so I think there's a lot of habits you form and that you can actually use to become a more successful entrepreneur.
And Heather, I'd like to ask you the same question, because as much as you do your day job, it seems like you do quite a lot in your day job. And so therefore you take risks, and though you don't have what we call a side hustle, you're still an entrepreneur in itself and through the journey that you've taken within your business.
So my view, to be successful in consultancy, you have to be an entrepreneur, because it's something we do every day. We help firms think through what they need to do. The challenge you have of being an entrepreneur in a firm that has a control framework is it has to make money for the firm. Also, you struggle sometimes where you have an innovative idea of keeping that idea to yourself and getting a credit for that idea. But you have to maneuver and take people along. So you can be bright and innovative within a firm, but there are a lot of struggles of taking it forward, because you need to have someone that helps you take that idea forward and will buy into idea and see how you can make money from it. Because fundamentally, there's no point having an idea inside an organisation that is not going to help them from a financial perspective.
And so moving swiftly on, Liam, are you born with an entrepreneurial mindset, or is that something you can develop?
I think that it's something that we are socially conditioned to create for ourselves. We all have kind of a range of different backgrounds as we grow up, and different opportunities present themselves at different times. And at different stages of our lives, we'll kind of think, how do we grasp those opportunities? And it's through those processes, kind of however many times they keep presenting themselves, and at what stage you decide to then start grasping them, is how I believe you kind of establish an entrepreneurial mindset. For me, my parents weren't entrepreneurs. They didn't do business themselves. They worked for businesses and kind of contracted and did some like interesting stuff where they were freelancing and working for themselves within bigger organizations, but they weren't setting up businesses. They were kind of sole trading within larger organizations, but they were taking kind of considerably more risk than other people with similar kind of like they're from up north. I was born in Wigan, and that's where their family, all my family, kind of still live and are from. And so when I was very much younger, and they came down south and then started kind of making a living down in London, I was able to see the risk that they'd taken in terms of there was no kind of guarantee that making that move was going to be successful for them, but then seeing that and then being able to then say, okay, I had jobs, I had a paper round to kind of instill like the work ethic, and you see how other people kind of adapt, and I had a series of different jobs growing up, always almost to kind of understand that that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to run my own things, and the only way I was going to get there was through meeting people, failing fast, and getting up and being resilient and kind of moving forward. So I suppose some people probably can be born with more likelihood to be a successful entrepreneur. If you're born into a family where your dad was the founder of X, Y, and Z, probably you have more likelihood that you're going to get a fast track into that. But then on the other hand, you can still, I believe, if you want to, create those opportunities yourself.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So just to sum up, the 3 skills that you've identified is connecting people, networking. So obviously this conference is a great way to do that. And if I was to challenge you with anything, I personally have a 3-2-1 rule when I do conferences or I host workshops or meet people. And it's within your given workplace or this space as a conference, meet 3 people, just 3, right? And there's over 600 people here. Over the course of the month, have a conversation with at least 2 of them and meet at least 1 of them for coffee. And so it's a 3-2-1 rule. It works amazingly, trust me. I've mentioned it with my network, and it means over the course of the year, you are talking to over 20 people, you are meeting over 12, and when you start surrounding yourself in that circle, you start not only developing those skills, but having more confidence in yourself. The second point you made, which was really important as well, is to fail and fail fast. And the third is just to be resilient. Do you have anything to add on top of that?
Of course I do. Okay, where should I start? First of all, the word entrepreneur, I think it's somewhat of a misnomer. It's been equated with only people that start businesses. I think that's incorrect. First of all, if it's only for people that start businesses, why does nobody call the guy in the corner shop an entrepreneur? They just say he owns a corner shop. If that's the case, he's an entrepreneur. If you work in a large company and you're a contractor, or if you're a consultant, you are technically, by all senses, an entrepreneur. So I just think there are words that have been grabbed by sort of this mainstream hype that get overused. So I really don't like to be called an entrepreneur. I don't like to be called an expert. All of those things, I think, are just, they're words, they're titles that society has prescribed and put on people, and they're not really necessary. You start a business, you are a business owner. Entrepreneur makes it seem like you need to go out and get some funding and go chat to a VC. No. Business, you will need to be generating profit. Revenue generation, profit, just profitability. So, and for being a successful entrepreneur, who defines success? It's what success is for you. Because not everybody, and it's just a fact, not everybody in the world is going to be a billionaire. Not everybody in the world is going to create a business, because if that's the case, who's going to be serving you your food when you go to a restaurant? Because the restaurant owner is the business owner. You need that person in there that is going to be working. So there's going to be a subpopulation that is going to be the worker bees. There's going to be a population that will be the business owners. And you, regardless of whether or not you're a business owner or an employee, you're still going to be a consumer. So everybody's a consumer, percentage are going to be entrepreneurs, business owners. As for being whether or not you are born with it or it's something that you get, I think it's ingrained in everybody in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of how it manifests itself in you and how you as a person decide to take that. Everybody when they're in school is somewhat of an entrepreneur, quote unquote, because you always want to do and create something and build on it when you're a kid. Everybody does. It's just a matter of whether or not that's something you take and run with when you do things in your life. So it's in everybody. It's just a matter of whether or not somebody decides to make that the money generation of their life. I'm gonna stop because I could go on. I guess my 3 points, I definitely say resilience. Resilience doesn't matter for if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur. Resilience is a fact that everybody needs in their life. At some point in your life, you're going to have a bottom. And that's what everybody doesn't talk about in the entrepreneurship game. They don't talk about the peaks and the valleys. They talk all about the peaks. We were talking about this earlier. But he talks about the high points, talk about the great trajectory. Nobody wants to talk about the low points. And that's when the resilience really, really matters. Networking, I don't do the 3-2-1 rule. I tend to like my numbers bigger. If you're at a big event, 3-2-1, you could probably meet more people than 3 and talk to them. So if you haven't talked to 3 people, it's a person sitting next to you, and if not, you need to talk to some of the people behind you. Just talk. That's all you can do, is just talk to people, because that's the best way for you to become more resilient, because you need that network. You need that support. And there's one thing I definitely always say. Does not matter the technology that is out there. And I'm a technologist. People first. You make sure you maintain yourself with integrity and honesty at all times. Because if people can't trust you, people don't want to do business with you. Always, always people.
Cool.
Oh, he's got one.
Do you have anything to add? is there anything that's been missed out?
Yeah, maybe just to build on your last point, because I really liked it. I think at this age, the way I think about mentality is it is a result of the inputs that you feed it. So just to give you an example, I've got 2 groups of friends. One group of friends, a bunch of investment bankers and strategy consultants, and they're on this trajectory, right? And they're like, hey, we're earning X amount of money, and they're not doing entrepreneurship. And when they speak to me, they're like, are you profitable yet? That's the only question I ask. And then my other group of friends are like, they're on the roller coaster with me, and they're all aspiring entrepreneurs. And the inputs they feed me when we spend time together, I feel boosted and ready, and they give me the energy to go. And they also give me the support I need to kind of ride out the dips that we talked about as well. But that's within my control. And then other inputs, so that's kind of people inputs. Other inputs are the blogs you read, the videos you watch. Like if you're spending too much time on Netflix watching God knows what, or Love Island and stuff, which I judge my friends for totally, you've got to think about the inputs that you're feeding your brain, because what outputs are they going to lead to?
Yeah, no, that's very wise. Actually, there's a lot of wisdom, so I hope you all are noting it down, and if not, you can find them on LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm sure. Heather, I'd like to direct it back to you, because obviously it's been discussed from a place of going out and starting your own business. But for you, like you've mentioned, you're a consultant, but that means taking risks and running mini businesses and projects as you go along, which you've been doing for numerous years. Do you have any tips or tricks or key action points that you could share today?
I think from an internal perspective, there are a number of challenges of being an entrepreneur, because you have to create your brand, and you have to reinvent your brand on a regular basis, because actually the way we operate is how we make money. So whereas, 6-7 years ago, it was about, transformation, risk, etc., we've moved into technology. So I may not, 7, 6, 8 years ago said I knew anything about AI. Now I sit in front of clients and talk about AI, and I talk about technology, because that's what they're buying. So I have to reinvent myself all the time. The tips I'll give to individuals doing this internally is that you need to think about, from a proposition perspective, where would this take the firm? Who do I need to support me on this journey? Because you might have the idea on your own, you can't take it forward by yourself. And to some extent, entrepreneurs can be a bit about me. You have to start thinking, I have the idea, but we need we to take it forward. And then to make money out of it, you need to be clear when you're putting your case, because you're presenting a business case almost internally. These are the steps that we need to go on. We may not make X amount of money today, but we need to make this level of investment because I believe this is how we can make money. And then you need to create the clients that are likely to buy that from you. But it is a journey and you can't do it by yourself. So the single-minded idea that you have, you need to think about, well, who do I need in the firm that can take this forward and get me past those barriers where someone says, I don't believe this is going to make money for us.
Of course you can.
Sorry. No, and that's exactly when the network comes into play. And a lot of people, especially when you are working in a corporate environment, seem to forget that you need to network outside of your direct function. It needs to be cross-functional, global. If your company's global, talk to the person that has a similar role to you in another geographic location, because sometimes they have access to resources, especially mind resources, that you may not have in your local division. And so, as I said, people, trust me, works for every environment.
And that actually goes on quite smoothly to our next section. So just as a reminder, take risks and don't be afraid to fail. Resilience is key. And most importantly, people. Connect. Find those connections, make your network, and build your community. And so I'd like to now open up to the community here and to the floor for any questions which you may have. We do have some time for some questions, answers. And please feel free to ask those sillier questions which you may not be comfortable in doing so before, because this is a safe space to learn and to share and to get involved. So I think the gentleman at the front with a white shirt put his hand up first. That's how we're going to do it.
Hello. Hi everyone, my name's David. My name is David Oyedele. I'm an account manager at AMV BBDO, the world's most creative agency. My question is more around sort of balancing your side hustle and what you see as being entrepreneurial with work. So I'm a DJ, probably the best. And then what I find is that my passion lies around sort of music and entertaining people, whereas you can't do that if you're working 9 to 5. I do love my job, but at what point do you sort of decide, okay, this is where I'm going to take a leap of faith and say, you know what, I'm ready to commit fully into something that I see passion in. Whereas what you said, Jazz, about sort of having a problem where you can't stop until you solve it, that's sort of the issue where I'm sort of in at the moment. So I just wanted to kind of get your opinion and see what you guys say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share my approach. I think I got to the point where I just needed to solve the problem too much. And also, having built a couple of businesses at PwC, I was just ready for a new challenge, so I jumped. I don't know if that's the most, let's say, strategic approach to those things, but I was happy to do that. Other friends will do it tactfully, so based on how much money they need to live, they'll make sure they're earning that much, and then when the business that they've got as a side hustle starts to earn that much money, then they'll leave. So it really just depends on your life, I guess, situation as well, and then do kind of things, do something that works for you. But I guess some of the things I've learned from other friends is don't just jump unless you've got some sort of a plan in place, which is what I did. But yeah, I wouldn't encourage it.
Liam, do you have anything to add?
I always think that there's everyone has kind of their kind of dream ambition of being a musician, a footballer, and we have this kind of notion of destiny that society kind of pushes pressure on us to kind of be a specialist, an accountant, a lawyer, all of these things. And I sometimes think, like, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a musician, and I was, at different times, people kind of challenged me to say, oh, you know, that it's super competitive at the top. And I kind of thought, oh, you know, if I can live that lifestyle or be part of that scene, and what does it take for me to kind of be in that same room? And even if I'm not the person at the top, how could I still be fulfilled in that circle? And so I became... I started writing about it. I started kind of doing a whole heap of other things that brought value, so that as I became entering rooms with people from the industry, perhaps I wasn't a performing musician, but I was able to sit in songwriting sessions and a whole heap of other things which actually was just as rewarding, but I didn't know that that's what could be the reward before I kind of took those steps. So it's not, I suppose the real thing is, well, work on your craft, and if you're kind of good enough, it speaks for itself. But it's also that balance of looking after yourself and everyone around you versus kind of being in a position where you're exposed.
And I'd like to add as final thing, just to, as someone who's in that situation right now, so I'm balancing a day job in tech with like-minded females and then a PhD, you have to also give yourself the time and space to explore the options and understand, is my passion, for example, public speaking, or is it facilitating workshops where other people public speak and I'm then connecting people? Is my passion being able to share the information which I'm gaining and add value, or is it being the spokesperson and the attention on me? And so to my point, you want to be one thing, but it's also, echoing what Liam said, important to understand where else can you add value and where else can you share your expertise and become an expert. And then eventually, I would suggest having that discussion with your workplace, because the way workplaces and the culture of the workplace is changing is they are, and I know many workplaces are trying to be more accommodating to those who have side hustles or a talent which they would like to further kind of craft. And so it could be as simple as actually DJing for the Christmas party. And I know that's maybe a silly one on the side, and that's how you build your experience, right? So then at that point, it's about actually just leaping out and maybe having a few sleepless nights or years, but just working on it on the side to the point where you're like, either I'm going to do it or I'm not. Next question.
Hi everyone, my name is Zoe and I'm a student at Loughborough University. I'm currently doing my placement year in finance. And last year I started a business, so I'm really passionate about like natural skincare and things like that. So I started one whereby I hand make like my own products. But one of the things that I actually struggle with is self-drive. And I feel like I could have been at a point now whereby my business like would have grown. But then because juggling uni and also now doing my placement, I feel like I just lack the drive to actually keep going. So I'm like, what would you say like motivates you? Because I know like, as you said, like you're doing your PhD and at the same time you're doing your job as well and also managing your own business as well. So what actually drives you to actually work on your business like more and more and more and actually like take it to the place like where you want it to be?
So, one of the other things I do is I started a venture fund. So one of the companies that I invested in, my lipstick, by the way, shout out, Niz Cosmetics, N-I-Z-Z, or N-I-Z-Z, vegan, vegetarian, and halal lipstick. And one of the reasons that she had sort of a stagnant period of time was because she was a nurse. She has 4 kids now. At the time, she had 3 kids. And she got to this point where she was being a mom, full-time mom, working on her business, as well as working as a nurse. And she got to a point where she just didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't know how to do it anymore. She really wasn't sure how to do it anymore. And she sat down, and she actually life mapped and sat down and said, what does she want to do at the long term? What's her strategic goal? What is the legacy that she wants to have? And for me, legacy is very important. And she said, well, I can nurse and I can take care of other people, but it's not taking care of me. And that really honed for her. The long-term goal was she wanted to do something that she felt was beneficial for her family, for her children, for herself, but also her overall goal was to make sure that it was beneficial for the customers that she had. She wanted to do something to better society. She felt, if I'm going to wear lipstick, at least it's going to be healthy lipstick, you know? So that really is sitting down and figuring out what your actual end goal is. What do you want to do strategically? Because if you're doing something just to do it and it's just turning a wheel, it's just a cog. You want to make sure you have I wouldn't say a vision. I think vision is the wrong word. I'd say, what do you want to be known for at the end of your life? Not just for getting something out of school or doing a job or a career that you didn't like. And I would say, don't use the word passion either, that's overused. It devalues the word.
Just because we are running out of time, Heather and Liam, do you have anything to add?
I think the only thing I would add, I don't have a side hustle, but I get up every day and I enjoy going to work. And I don't see it as a job, but for me, it was really important.
She's good at what she does.
I do it. It sounds really odd, but I get up every day and I enjoy going to work. So the challenge of what do I do outside of that isn't there, because my outcome is to reach the top of my house. And in order to do that, I have a plan in place that needs to take me there. And I know I need the sponsorship and the support, and I work every day on that, whether consciously or subconsciously, that's what I do. But also, it's really important for me, given where I am, to make sure that I leave a legacy for people that come behind me. What the legacy is, I haven't yet defined, but I do know I want to do that. And someone said something to me the other day that actually, whereas I was thinking, well, I'm not sure if I'm leaving a legacy, and I was challenging myself whether I wanted to do something, and I said to my team, I don't really want to do that, it's not really my thing. They didn't say anything for a while, but at the end of the day, they said they were really irritated because they see me as a role model, they expect me to do this. And I sat there thinking, didn't really think of myself in that way. So actually, it made me be more excited about what I get up and do every day. And if you feel about that, you're willing to take the risk and do what you want to do.
Well, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for everyone who put their hand up and asked a question. I apologise to those who we didn't get to, but please do come and connect with the panellists after and share your questions and come and find us. And we'd be more than happy to answer them. And I'd like to thank the panellists for being so honest with your answers and really sharing your wisdom. So thank you so much.